Hello and welcome to the Replimat Who Watch, a regular chatcast in which two people, nerds, fans, whatever, go through Star Trek Deep Space Nine in episode order, and every other week, and this is another week, go through Doctor Who in episode and story order from the beginning. And we are up to, this week, we are up to the Keys of Marinus, episodes 4 to 6, which is episodes 24 to 26 of Doctor Who overall by this point. So this afternoon, we shall be watching and commenting on The Snows of Terror, Sentence of Death, The Keys of Marinus, all written by Terry Nation and directed by John Gorrie. The Snows of Terror was first broadcast on the 2nd of May 1964. Sentence of Death was first broadcast on the 9th of May 1964. And The Keys of Marinus, the final episode, was first broadcast on the 16th of May 1964. So there we are. And as I didn't mention it before, I shall mention it now. My name is Tim, and joining me this afternoon on the screen is the man himself.
Oh, me, Andy.
You!
Yes, I am Andy. Hello. Hi.
He is. Yes.
Yes.
So, if you're going to join in and watch with us at home in the comfort of your own home, please do. Please feel free to. Andy will be watching his on DVD. I will be watching mine on iPlayer. So we have a slightly different count-in because of the. Sorry, someone is texting me.
Look at the wonderful thing he does. Diddle-a-diddle-a.
Yes, a slightly different counting because of the speed at which they respond. So Andy will be starting his on a count of 3, and I will be starting my iPlayer on a count of 5. Do we have anything else we need to make the viewer and or listener aware of before we start, or are we ready to go?
Nothing comes to mind except that we will, at the end of our little overview, what's it? We will be, I was going to say taking a deep dive, but it's not going to be a deep dive one yet. We shall certainly talk in just a little bit about the novelisation of The Keys of Marinus by Philip Hinchcliffe.
A shallow paddle.
A shallow paddle, yes.
Target
as the books come along, and obviously some books are way more different to the TV version, they will probably take a deeper dive in some of them. But some of them are just pretty straightforward, almost like he said, she said, especially some Terrence Dicks ones. Ironically, some Terrence Dicks are very much a deep dive as well. So, yes, that's what we'll be doing. So,
there we go.
Well, I'm ready when you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right, then. So, you count.
Okay.
So, on 3 DVD players.
Yeah.
On 5.
And on 5 for iPlayers. Okay. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Ish.
Almost ish.
Almost ish. Ish will do. We can deal with ish. Right, if I go here, I can actually see it because I'm watching it on the monitor in front of me, but I'm actually watching what's been recorded. So I'm actually watching this, but actually on the monitor in front of me. So it does say Doctor Who, but yay, you know what I mean.
I think I've married them up.
You think you married them up? Oh, cool.
I think I've married them up now.
Mr. and Mrs. Who?
Mr. and Mrs. Snows of Terror.
Yes.
By Terry and Nation.
It's quite weird, of course, now, because only today I've pretty much gone through almost the entirety of the story. I've actually, because I finished Marco Polo yesterday because I was like, oh shit, I need to do Keys. So I listened to the audiobook of the novelisation because I don't have time to read that and read for fun. Don't know how you squeeze it all in. So I've only literally listened to the audiobook of it today. So I know exactly what's coming up. It's great. Obviously, I've seen this before.
Ian's still wearing his cafe robe, isn't he, from Marco Polo? I think so. I'm sure there was Chinese symbols on the back. Oh,
could well be. I was looking down at the time, which is odd because I never look down when Ian's on screen because Ian's just too good.
Big scary furry guy.
That way a bit. There we go.
I remember this last time I watched it, because I've not watched the story for a number of years. Although, like you, I've recently read the novelisation, so I know I knew it was coming up anyway, but it's a bit fresher in my mind. But this, I do remember this episode being rather uncomfortable places.
Yeah, none of this uncomfortable, not great, but it's definitely some emotional and weird, like all this.
Yes,
It doesn't come across this way in the book so much. Hinchcliffe definitely tones it down quite a bit, which I think he has to. Ironically, of
I think
course.
so. Yeah, thinking of the children reading rather than the family audience.
Ironically, having just listened to the Marco Polo book, even though that was obviously a few weeks for us, the whole hashish stuff is all very much still in the book, very much, which was surprising to me. So I was like, I wonder if they're going to cut this out, but yeah, apparently not.
As long as there's no footnotes telling you where you can score and stuff, that's
in your local area, you'll find this is the number to ring. I could probably mention a few people in the local area. I don't actually take any of this stuff, but sadly, welcome to the world. Most of my family apparently do.
Ian's definitely still got his
oh yes,
Chinese robe on.
It's in the way. There we go. I see him there.
I can't remember the actor's name, but I know he's in a number of early episodes.
Is he?
He's also in he's the ghost of Christmas Present in the 1951 Scrooge film, Alistair Sim, Christmas Carol.
And you're obviously, as we know, quite an aficionado of Christmas Carol.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like. I've certainly watched quite a few. I forget, did we mention, has you watched the Catherine Tate version? I'm sure we mentioned this last time, like back in December.
Watch the
Catherine Tate
version? No.
Well, this year. Yeah. Maybe we'll do an actual reaction to it just for the special Christmas. That's not a bad idea, actually.
Fair enough.
Because it's got a Doctor Who connection, so, Catherine Tate and David Tennant's in it, so it is, yeah, it's a thing. It's Nan. It's a thing. Lend you? Yeah.
How did he know that the others that he wants to go looking for haven't already used theirs to go forward, though?
True.
Needs something to cover his arms.
Yeah.
He's going to catch a chill like that.
Well, thanks for making that clear, Ian.
Oh dear.
I probably wouldn't have gone, though. Mind you, Ian is a have-a-go hero, sure.
He is.
Well, actually, more than that, I'd say he's just a hero, just generally. He's just, instinctively a hero. Ooh, yeah.
It's yeah. I think if it was me, I would have tried to have got the trapper to come with me.
Yeah.
And left Barbara in the hut on her own.
Yeah. I don't
rather than. Oh, he's got sleeves now.
I do like that they're not shying away from the awkwardness of it all.
Mm.
I mean, certainly Jacqueline Hill's performance is definitely giving you a sort of, this is creepy. Yeah, these skins aren't much use, are they? Because
Altos's legs must have already got frostbite, I would have thought, having been out.
I'd warm them up for him.
Yes, I'm sure you will. You dirty ticket.
Well,
Yes.
Jacqueline Hill is great.
She is. She is absolutely brilliant, and it's such a shame that she died so young, before she could really. I think probably before she could really appreciate how much everybody
Yeah.
loved her performance.
Was it?
I know she attended some early like conventions and stuff, but I think appreciation for her performance generally has grown massively since the mid '80s. Just simply through the through exposure to it, because we had access to so little early material to watch back then. I mean, when was the first black and white video was Seeds of Death, and that was released sort of about '86, maybe something like that, '87.
Originally, but then properly in '88 would have been
Yeah,
budget
and then
release.
the Daleks didn't come out until '91 or whatever it was, so 1990. So
And she died what? Not that long after Meglos?
was it early '90s? I think.
Oh, really?
I think.
Huh.
Yeah, I'm sure it was early '90s that she passed away.
So I was just wondering, was she not still around then? Well, I guess she must have been still around for Five Doctors, so it's surprising they didn't actually ask her back for that.
Yeah.
Maybe they did and she wasn't available, but I don't recall hearing that they asked her back. Especially after her turn as Lexa, whatever her name was.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, Lexa.
Yeah, she died 93, 18th of February 93.
Wow.
So,
I'm surprised they didn't make more. Maybe they just felt bad because of giving her that character they probably shouldn't have given her. John Nathan Tony's like, I better not ask her again before they burn that bridge.
Yeah. Well, also, I suppose also the Five Doctors was quite crowded as it was anyway. So if you have more than one companion, and I suppose Susan they thought was presumably the obvious one rather than Ian and Barbara.
She could easily have done a cameo as a Phantom for the first Doctor, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because they certainly squeezed a few extras in that then, I mean, just sort of like, got enough space for everybody, but we can certainly squeeze as many as we can in.
Well, no, she was certainly still working around that time because she was in. No, I'm wrong. No, sorry. But she, as far as I know, she was still working around that time.
Yeah.
So.
Tell him, Barbara.
Yeah. God, you need some trousers on.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Well, even the less interesting stories need something to captivate the audience, right? Is that supposed to be the hut?
Yes, I think so. That was a model shot.
Okay. It's very small on the screen in front of me.
It didn't look like someone had dropped their purse. Yeah.
And you're watching on your phone?
I am watching it on my phone.
Crazy, man. Go on, Barbara. No, I'm loving not. You left me with this weirdo.
Oh, right. You meant to no harm. Honest, Gov.
Mm-hmm. Before we cave him in.
Not much of a fire there, Susan. Oh, and Sabitha's wearing very little as well.
Yeah, see some for everybody.
Pair of neck curtains by the looks of things. About it.
I don't know. Ian and Altos lasted okay, and they don't have much more, really.
They must have a strong constitution, these Marinians.
Yes, according to Hinchcliffe, yeah, the Marinians.
Marinians, yes.
Thank you, Philip. It's such an odd thing, isn't it, for a producer of Doctor Who to end up novelising the stories anyway, but to novelise stories that weren't even from his era. It's a very...
Yeah, it'd be,
I can't think of
I've
any other... yeah, I'm trying to
I
think
don't
of
think I've
any...
ever seen him speak about it, so I don't know how he ended up getting this one. It's kind of,
I assume the
it
first
makes
one would
sense
have
that he
been
got
Season
Seeds of
2.
Doom.
Yeah, I assume that was his first one. I assume. I'll have to look it
Yes,
up. How many
yeah,
did he
no,
do?
it
I know
must be. I used when yeah, I had Seeds of Doom and Keys of Marinus in paperback years ago. The Seeds of Doom one was an earlier version, or an earlier, obviously an earlier book. The cover for the Keys of Marinus, rubbish.
we, we'll talk about that later a bit. I've got some thoughts. I've got some thoughts. They aren't. It's rubbish. I think we're going to disagree on this one.
Go on, Ian.
That's what I thought. One, keep going back to the audiobook. Um, well, the audiobook novelization, because Jamie Glover does the reading of it,
Oh, okay.
and he's the one who plays William Russell in The Adventures in Space and Time, I believe.
He's new Ian Chesterton. Yeah.
Now he's new here as well. Yeah, it doesn't sound anything like it. Even in the Big Finish stuff. I'm like, I'm not hearing Ian there. Anyway. Um, he keeps calling him Vassor.
Oh,
Vassor.
okay.
Vasor. Either way, he
Hmm.
pronounces it differently. Because I was listening, I'm thinking that don't sound right to me.
Yes, I would have said
Sure.
Vasor,
Yeah, I
but
think that's what he calls him. Yeah, because I remember I'm listening to it earlier, and I'm thinking, sure, it's Vassor. Sure, that doesn't sound right to me at all. Honestly, they could have just stepped across there.
well, I was just thinking it's a shame they didn't cut from starting on the bridge on one side and then just cut to the as they panned across. You
Yeah,
could see that it's only about 4 foot
like
wide.
literally, you probably could have just gone way, boom, easy. I mean, God, the jump in the Fal, not the Fal, the Scarrow tunnels, underground tunnels was wider.
And you never actually got to see properly the width of that,
Yeah.
which helped sell it a lot more.
Who'd you said directs this?
John Gorry.
Okay. And that was Martin and what's his face, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. I think it was Richard Martin who directed the scenes in the caves
I
in the
like Richard
tunnels.
Martin. He's just fairly straightforward director, but he's a decent, sharp eye when it
Mm.
comes to he knows how to convey stuff without going for the obvious route necessarily, but still doesn't seem exceptional either. Which, you know,
I think. Oh, that's torn it.
oh, no, you can't
You
jump
have
back
to
now.
jump across now. Um, I think
So,
this is a John Gorry's only story.
this is what now?
I
Only.
think it's John Gorry's only story. Actually,
Yeah, I think you said that last time.
I've seen some of his later TV work. He directed a BAFTA award winning series about Edward VII for ITV in 1975, I think it was.
Yeah, okay.
Timothy West. I watched that relatively recently, and that was really good. So,
When I was almost 3,
ooh,
and you were
sweet.
almost 1.
It was indeed.
Crazy to think, isn't it? God,
I
that's
think I think this is another one of those episodes where um, Terry Nation's vision is just slightly beyond what could be achieved in the studio, but you have to admire them for going for it anyway.
well,
As best they could.
already. We're only a second script for the series, or second serial for the series anyway. Already you can see he's developing tropes
Yeah,
of long journeys, caverns, caves,
yeah.
chasms, or the seas. He's obviously developing tropes already of how can I just use as many possible sets as possible and really make you kill your budget on my story. He's not a writer who can be contained.
No.
in terms of, right, these are my core characters. These are the ones I shall use for the entire series. These are my core locations. We'll stick to that and make it work. He's very much of, what can I do next week? Let's do that. Fuck it.
Yeah.
You know, and you can see that already. But they obviously liked what he did with the Daleks, that they actually commissioned him so quickly to write a second serial.
I
And
guess.
obviously, before the Daleks became popular, they just obviously liked what he did.
I guess at that time, David Whittaker was probably just appreciating writers who could deliver to the format. Quite quickly. See, I mean, it's very notable that Anthony Coburn wasn't asked to contribute.
Well, he did, didn't he? He did write a second script originally, which of course,
the Masters of Luxor. Yeah, but it was I mean, they couldn't get it to work or whatever. But
I remember.
But John Le Carrotti is obviously good at delivering the early historicals. Terry Nation at delivering the early sci-fi.
Yeah, because Roach did. Does he do? He did Aztecs, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, Thingy. And he will do
The Massacre.
Is that it?
St. Bartholomew's Eve.
Is that it? It's only 3.
Yes, that's his 3.
Surprising, actually, because I would argue that he probably does 3 of the stronger ones, certainly.
Because when we get to the Massacre, I mean, the Massacre's an odd one because what we got on TV was largely rewritten by Donald Tosh as script editor.
Right.
And John Le Carrotti's original is what he turned into the Target novelisation. So that would be an interesting. That would be an interesting comparison.
I've not read / heard it at all. I've not read it again since 80s.
Yeah,
actually early 90s, which of course was 30 odd years ago.
Honest.
Seriously, the other day I was talking to somebody. They mentioned about 94 or whatever it was. Actually, no, we was talking about obviously 30, and it suddenly occurred to me, I was like, my God, that was 30 years ago. Like, actually might have been. That's when we was talking about Deep Space Nine, possibly. But it's just when you keep saying like 94 or 30 years ago, I mean like 30, and then you really think about it, and you're like, wow, how is that possible?
Now, what they really should have done was they should have disarmed those guys when they were defrosting.
That would have made sense.
Oh, Sabitha, up you get.
It's okay. We've got Susan to do all that kind of nonsense soon. Well, we say that. Susan only does that once, to be fair. Even though it became a Susan trope for some reason.
Yeah, it is a bit unfortunate, isn't it?
Because she does it, I suppose, in the Tribe of Gum 3-parter, where she trips while she's running. Does she trip in the Daleks when she's running to the TARDIS as well?
Well, there's various bits of tripping and stuff, but
either way, and obviously then she does the whole sprained ankle thing twice with after that with a 20-year gap.
Yes.
Well, 90.
Go on, Susan. In case the polystyrene cracks. Oh,
that's really, really polystyrene, isn't it?
I know, but it's.
I mean,
it's thrilling stuff.
Fine, but it's just unfortunate you can hear it. They didn't have the ability at the time to get rid of that kind of sound. Nowadays, I mean, we still get polystyrene rocks and whatnot, but you don't know they are so much because you can't hear them.
Yes, it's all dubbed, isn't it? So
even that, just so there's no weight to it, is there? Unfortunately. Still, God bless Doctor Who. They're like, well, can we do this? Probably not, but we'll give it a go anyway. Oof.
So was that noise them breaking into pieces and falling down into the chasm? I think it probably was.
Meant to be. It just sounded like more polystyrene to me.
It did, didn't it? Yes, if they just cut from one side to the other, it looks the illusion is complete. It's
Because obviously, as you can see, they've got a camera. Well, they seem to have more than one camera filming, so
yeah.
they could easily film them walking onto it and then film them walking off it, so you wouldn't. Yeah.
Oh no! What do we do now?
Ew, we can't possibly jump across that because we were frozen, so we've got an excuse.
We'll just stand here and say, "Nee."
That's all. Will they? Do they? I forget.
They do keep their date with the Doctor.
Because next up is thingy, isn't it?
Yes, we've got Sentence of Death next.
Millennium. Depending on.
Don't walk with your back to the door when they're trying to break through the door. He's really got himself to blame.
Yeah.
Just never mind him. Just
I should note, dear viewer, you can tell, but you might be able to tell, but for the first time in weeks, Tim's not actually pixelated, and we're actually talking, and it's actually communicating live.
This is true.
Usually, I'm like, has he finished talking? I can't tell. Or vice versa. Conk. Did I even go near him?
Oh, it brushed the fur on the back of his third. So that was
okay. Okay.
Here you are. So let me brush your cape.
Oh no! Oh, you hurt my coat.
What's he hitting with? A sweet potato or something? By the looks of things.
Yeah. He's you're one of your jacket potatoes that you make. Yeah. Complete with studs.
Now, the story's been great. It has been really enjoyable so far, I think, because each episode just offering that sort of the something slightly new. The last two parter, because it does feel like these last two episodes are, a separate, almost a separate piece in themselves. I do particularly like the last setup, as it were, the struggle for the last key.
I think it's quite cool. Again, we'll pre-talk about it then. I'm going to stop. I don't need to because it's going to go into menu screen. I like yourself. I like each of the episodes thus far. I like the self-contained nature of them. Like I said, it's odd that I struggled with it in oops, that way. I struggled it in Marco Polo, but again, I think that's due to the lack of visuals. But yeah, it kind of works in this, doesn't it? Each episode is its own thing. I mean, it's all part of the ongoing narrative, but it's still its own thing. And it works.
There is very much a sense that if Marinus is the world, which we assume
it might be,
it is, that it must be quite a large world with all these kind of oddly sort of temperate regions.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously
the weather. The weather and the general conditions being wildly different in places. Yeah. I guess at the end of the day, not too dissimilar to Earth itself, because you've got
unique in sci-fi, frankly, because sci-fi generally is all very monolithic in terms of culture and whatever. One planet represents one aspect.
Exactly. Yeah. Tatooine in Star Wars, for example, there's no sense that Tatooine is anything other than just one huge desert,
which seems unlikely.
So, but
yes, thinking on it, what you say there, I like that. Yeah, I kind of forget when I'm watching it that of course this is still presumably on the same planet. There's nothing in the story, in the dialogue or anything, to suggest they're going anywhere else other than the keys are all spread over Marinus.
Yeah, so they start off at an island, something like a Greek island or something, and then go to like sort of a rainforesty type environment up to like the Arctic tundra around like the north of Scandinavia or whatever.
Yep.
And now into what's essentially just like a good old fashioned courtroom drama set in a metropolis like whatever, New York or Hong Kong or London or something. It's all Cardiff, yes. Apologies. So
keep Welsh.
So yeah,
I like. Well, I'm gonna go and quickly grab a drink. I need to pee as well in between episodes, people. So I don't know if Tim wants to talk more. If he's going to grab himself a drink too.
I'm going to avail myself of a wee.
Okie dokie. So I will probably cut this bit where we disappear. So if we reappear in different positions, you'll know why. I might leave it on there. I don't know. 2 shades. That looked very rude then. Apologies. We're back. So we'll just pretend we weren't gone anywhere. So, continue.
Right, yes. I'll count you in again.
I'm ready.
Go on then. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Still ahead of you slightly.
Maybe that's doing 6 from now on.
Yeah, I reckon.
We'll do 6 next time.
Do 6 next time.
It's amazing, isn't it? The difference. God, even when we both did it with Netflix originally on DS9, we both pressed play at the same time, yet somehow.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing. I was trying to watch one of the reactions of the Star Trek guys I watch.
Yeah.
They watch it on Blu-ray. So I was like, right, in that case, when they press play, I press play, it should naturally go the same. No. Still a few seconds out. It's like, wow.
Oh.
But yeah.
There it goes again with the this has been reset, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Since last week. So different sweet potato.
Different spud. Spudgelicky.
So
I don't want to give away. Sorry, I don't want to give away how they get away with it, just in case people watching it with us haven't seen it before. Although I can't imagine why you'd want to watch a reaction without having seen the episode before. But if you are that person, I don't want to give it away just yet. I mean, normally I wouldn't care, but this is a kind of nice how they did it thing. So, but I do think the answer to how they did it is actually quite clever.
Yeah, I do.
Like I said, most of the audiobook, I'm like, yeah, it's still. I mean, it's funny that, of course, we get to the point where the doctor's like, oh, I've known this for a long time. It just wasn't useful to say this just yet for me because, it didn't serve us to tell him it yet. I'm like, that's almost a writer saying, yeah. I just didn't want to give it away yet.
Well, it's either that or it's that that annoying habit that certain fans have or have had in the past of once something big is announced, going public, say, "Oh, thank God I can finally talk about this." And it's like, there's nothing to do with you.
That worked out ages ago. Yeah, it's like, all right then, mate. Yeah, sod off.
It does seem a bit screwed up that the sort of prevailing legal system is you are guilty unless proven otherwise. I suppose it kind of, it makes what we have sort of seem, whereas justice can seem quite unfair at times. At least you're not guilty until proven otherwise.
At least you've got to be proven so first.
Yeah. This is guilty unless proven otherwise.
It's as you will learn very soon, actually. I feel sure it's been mentioned already. Yeah, it's mentioned by Ducat, wasn't it? Was it last week? Where he mentioned a Cardassian system is very much a case of you're already guilty.
Yeah.
The trial is just to show people why you're guilty.
Yes.
So it's quite a similar thing, really. It's
Yeah,
like,
it
oh,
is.
we've already decided you're guilty, so now we're just going to show people this is why you're guilty. But of course, it's gone.
Go on.
No,
I was going to say I'm not widely read or knowledgeable in sort of Terry Nation's overall output, but I do know that here and also in Blake 7, the episode Mission to Destiny, he's written a couple of really good kind of mystery thriller scenarios. So I don't know whether that was something he developed a lot in for other franchises or what. I mean, generally we tend to think of him just as like an action adventure writer. But
well, you say that, but then Survivors is not an action adventure thing at all.
No.
Which of course reminds me now that I should get back to that at some point. I've got the whole series. I'm always determined to carry on, but never got past season 1. Still, I'm sure I have. Have I started season 2? I think I started it ages ago, and I got like half a thing. I'm like, I can't be asked. But I really want to get. I should get back to that actually. Trying to find time, of course.
I don't know at what point in Survivors Terry Nation walked away from it.
Usually second season, that's pretty standard.
I think it possibly was because he just left it to Terence Dudley, the producer, because they didn't see eye to eye on where it should go.
Isn't that kind of what happened with Blake 7 to him and I want to say
no, not
Chill,
he willingly sort of left Blake 7 with Chris Boucher as script editor.
Yeah.
No, it happened to Terence Dudley on Doomwatch because that was Jerry Davis' Kit Pedler series.
So and just basically these Doctor Who writers are really, really temperamental, shall we say?
Well, possibly either that or Terence Dudley just didn't. I think he got put onto projects that he didn't see eye to eye with the writers and tried to change it into something else that he thought was right. And the writers are there going, but this isn't what we want. This isn't what we're doing. And so he goes, well, I'm the producer, so tough shit. And so with Doomwatch, Davis and Pedler walked away after 2 series of that and said, right, fine. Do your own thing then. It lasted one more season and then got cancelled. I think the same with Survivors. Terry Nation said, right, fine, after the second series, do what you want. Terence Dudley turned it into a show about farming and then it got cancelled.
Well, common denominator is clearly Dudley. He did 2 Doctor Who, doesn't he? He does.
He directed Meglos. He directed Meglos and then he wrote K9 and Company.
Oh, 3 then.
Black Orchid and Fort of Doomsday. No right at all writing K9 and Company.
Did he write Fort of Doomsday? Didn't he write? Didn't he write King's Demons?
Oh, he might have written King's Demons as well. I'm not sure. I don't like King's Demons very much, so it's not one I've watched very often.
Well, we'll get to that eventually.
Yeah. So, yes, it's possible that he did write King's Demons as well. Then, so, you certainly wouldn't give you if you're writing a pilot for a spin-off like K9 and Company, you shouldn't be giving that to a writer who hadn't written for the character in the main series.
Yeah, it's an odd choice, but again, we'll discuss that because I'm aware that we have completely ignored almost everything.
He's taken over this podcast now.
We've completely ignored its entire episode.
Yes, exactly. All this time we're not watching Donald Pickering, who's giving a wonderful performance.
Bass, right?
Ian's still wearing his Chinese gown. And there's the Doctor. He's been missing for a couple of episodes.
So this is Donald Pickering?
No, Donald Pickering's the young guy.
Oh, okay.
He was previously on to the left of our screens before the camera panned around.
Is he the good-looking one? Because there's another very good-looking guy in this. Is he the one that found Ian in the thing?
I don't think that was Donald Pickering. No.
Okay. Because I did notice
he'll be the guy. He'll be the guy for the prosecution, I would think.
Oh, okay. Isn't he also Bass?
Yes, he is. Bass in Time and the Rani and Captain Blade in Faceless Ones.
Ah, okay, yeah. So yeah, good-looking guy back in the day.
There
Yeah.
he is.
Oh yeah, God, yes. Could totally see Bayes then. Could totally see Bayes. It's funny, isn't it? How some people like that, even when they get older, they still look. You can say, "Oh yeah, absolutely you."
Yeah.
Like I'd
Yes,
watch,
because he
yeah,
looks exactly the same as Captain Blade,
yeah.
like 3 years later in Faceless One. So,
Because I was watching yesterday, the first Hammer Dracula, because I'm doing a lot of
oh,
vampire
I
watching.
saw. I
It's
love that
terrible.
film.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I love that film.
I just, it's very Hammer.
It's brilliant.
Very Hammer.
Yeah.
They definitely took some liberties with the Dracula story in
Oh,
that,
of course.
which is
Yeah.
fine. Because only just before that, I'd watched about a Lugosi, which is a bit more accurate. Uh, so next up, I'll be watching the Coppola version, which again is shockingly accurate, other than a few embellishes they make. And what was it? Oh yeah, because we talk about people age. That's what it was. And Peter Cushing looks so odd young.
He does, doesn't he?
You're so used to him as an older actor. Same as
Yeah.
because also in that Michael Gough was in it. So
Yes, indeed.
Doctor Who, both Doctor Who connected, and he looks so young in that. I was like, wow, what did Annika Wills see in him?
I know it's a
It wasn't
weird.
long around. It's around that time.
Yeah, it's a weird one because
Yeah,
she was an
she
absolute
was
like
stunning.
60s babe. She was
Yeah,
gorgeous.
but yeah,
So,
speaking
yeah,
of gorgeous people,
yeah. Altos and Sabitha.
yeah, Sabita. Also, neither have changed.
Yes, that's the guy that found him.
That's the guy. He's a fairly decent looking guy. They have cast, say well.
Chiseled jaw going on there.
Yeah, they definitely. This director has definitely got an eye for the guys. I reckon his casting is all very.
Good,
I know nothing about this director, so I don't know.
good macho pose that as well. Hands standing there, hands on hips. I'm going to be stolid.
So
I'm going to be stolid today.
I am.
Stolid. Yes.
I'll be stolid. You be stodgy. Right, sure.
Hartnell, he's clearly he's loving all of this
Oh yeah, absolutely.
all of this opportunity to be a kind of a detective and a lawyer as kind of
Well, it's the same
situation.
later on when he's in the second half of the arc. You know, he loves it all there.
Yeah. I mean, he's probably sprightly after having 2 weeks off as well, but still, he's loving every moment of this.
You can always tell with Hartnell, I think, when because obviously this will happen a few times over the next couple of years, where he'll disappear for a week or two, or episode or two, depending on how you look at it. And you always tell when he comes back that he's had a break because he's so fresh and his performance doesn't feel tired. He's not fluffing his lines because he's had a chance to rest and whatnot.
Yeah.
See, that's a very typical first Doctor pose, isn't it? The whole lapel. But he doesn't really
do it. Determination name, Taron.
God, yes. Very.
Yeah. One tee off Tarrant. And there's a number of those across Doctor Who and Blake 7.
Oh, yes. So I'm kind of glad they never did that Doctor Who crossover with Blake 7 that they kind of always bandied around. Because if they had, then at some point in our watch, we'd have to watch it.
That would have been that really would have been a terrible idea.
The other day I was, you do look at your stuff on the shelves occasionally, and so I thought, I can't wait till we get to this to get rid of that. And I was looking at all the spin-offs. I'm like, that's been quite fun because that's a long way off.
Yes, very long way off.
But yeah, that's gonna be interesting because I wonder how many of our viewers have actually watched any of these actual not official, non-BBC spin-offs.
Yes.
I forget. Have you seen? I'm sure you said no. The K9 series.
No, I haven't. I saw the first. I saw the first episode, and that's That's it. I couldn't bring myself to watch any more, unfortunately.
You will. We'll be a lot older, but we will.
Hooray!
God knows.
Well, that's something to look forward to
God,
14 years down the line.
I wonder how long it will take us. It's going to take us a while, isn't it? We haven't proven anything yet. I'm ahead of you now.
You are very slightly, yes.
Just
But
here
it's,
in the background.
and that is Fiona Walker, who
Yes.
years later was
Indeed.
Lady Painfort.
It's because I remember.
And had an orgasm in a tea room in Windsor or something.
Oh, yes. I do love Silver Nemesis. Well, some days.
Silver Nemesis is.
Some days I like it. Other days I'm like, God, it's
If
all.
you're in the mood for it, Silver Nemesis is great.
Yeah.
It would probably be better if all the interesting stuff hadn't happened before the story started. But
True.
Never
Yeah,
mind.
question. I mean, again, we're mostly talking over this story than watching it. But that's our thing. Do you think? I certainly think that what we're doing two things at once here. Sorry. Do you think that the Doctor Painfort first met was the second Doctor?
to be honest, I've never thought about it.
Because I saw.
Never ever thought
I
about
remember
it.
when Roundheads got released as a book. I remember before we knew anything about it, just with the name, I was like, "Ooh, is this going to be that whole story about the Roundheads and Painfort and the Nemesis Arrow and all that stuff?" Alas, no.
No.
Second Doctor book, I was like, "Oh, we're going to actually get it," but we didn't. But yeah, because the fact that they recognised the Doctor from a distance anyway sort of implies that he looked enough like, to me, that suggests Second Doctor.
The gentleman that's just come in is Martin Court, who played a Voord earlier in the.
Yes, you mentioned that.
And I think possibly was a knight or something as well. And obviously now he gets to appear as himself, which is nice.
Okay.
And then he gets shot in the end of episode 1 of The Seeds of Death.
Oh, is he the dude at the beginning who goes, "Ah!"
Yes, sorry, at the beginning of Seeds
when
of
the
Death.
Martians
Yes,
the Martians,
Oh,
when
hang
the
on.
Ice Warriors first appear.
No, that's
No?
no. He's the one that's reporting to Earth at the end of episode 1 of Seeds of Death when the Ice Warrior slams his hand on the claw on the communicator. So
Right.
yes, he's
Right.
Yeah.
Or Fuchsia.
No, it's the guy that gets shot towards the beginning is Harry Taub,
Okay.
who also gets eaten by a plastic chair in Terror of the Autons.
See, you, I mean, I thought I've got some arcane knowledge about Doctor Who, but you're outdoing me at the moment. Because I always say this, I used to, a friend of mine used to go on about all this random behind the scenes knowledge I have of Doctor Who, and it's like, ugh. But yeah, apparently you have more than I do on certain things. I'm a story guy. You're the archaic knowledge.
He's up to no good, I
He is
reckon.
up to no good.
Is Donald Pickering.
Well, he's a very good collaborator, so it makes sense.
I like the judges. I like their headgear. It's
Orthodox Jew thing. Well, apparently, according to the novelisation, that's what it says, because they're like, no subtlety there, thank you very much, Hinchcliffe.
Yeah.
It's like, you could have described him differently. He literally drew a complete comparison to clearly the inspiration. It's like, mate, talk about subtlety. Come on, Hinchcliffe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's nobody else on this planet. Yeah.
He's
absolutely like
brilliant.
Esther.
Yeah, it's good that there's no scenery around him because he would be chewing it, but it is excellent. It's so watchable, and there's so much energy and vitality in his performance as well. It's
well, obviously it's not the real one, is it? I mean, it's a picture.
Stop being pedantic, you.
Well, come on, with production.
She's got it.
I forget, is that the real one, or one of the real ones, or is that that fake one that she had before?
No, it's one of the real ones.
Okay.
Yeah, Ian's got the fake one still.
Yeah, I forget. See, now this is better than as it is in the book.
Yes.
Because in the book, and maybe it reads differently to how it's read by somebody, but in the book, he basically almost spends that entire part of dialogue before he realizes what he's done. Whereas here, he's just like, oh no, it can't be because oh shit.
Yeah,
What I said. Whereas in the
give away.
he has the entire dialogue spiel, and then he's like, oh. Hinchcliffe kind of played that wrong, I think.
Oh dear.
Not her best performance here, is it?
Oh, Fiona. He's dead.
That was very theatrical.
It was, but I don't care because I'm loving this whole thing. It's fabulous. And what I also love is the audience immediate perception here is that that's it sorted. That's it all done and dusted, and it's not. And I love the fact that you get these additional twists, or just again that Terry Nation thing of piling it on and on and on.
Have another problem to solve, another problem to solve, another problem to solve. You know?
No, it doesn't.
Do they not have fingerprints at all? Or maybe they don't. It's an interesting idea. That the Marinians.
So, psychometric testing, from what they've said, then you have to try and you get a sort of like a pattern of what the person could be like, and then you have to try and match that to the individual. If you've got fingerprints, it should just match up with the individual.
But no, the idea I was thinking was just interesting. The idea that the inference, at least, would be that Marinians do not have fingerprints.
Possibly.
Which definitely makes them alien. It's a nice minor difference between us and them.
Yeah. Yes, that's it all adds to the world building, doesn't it? And having ZZ Top as the
it could just be that they don't know how to do the whole matchy thing. They don't realize they're unique, but I kind of like the idea that it infers they just don't have fingerprints. It seems unlikely a society this advanced, and they do seem fairly advanced, they wouldn't have worked out fingerprints by now.
They're advanced, but I like the way that they're clearly not. That it's not a perfect society by any means, and they are still
but later
corrupt.
They don't know the idea. They haven't got any contour of skepticism either. If it's not obvious, it's not true. Simple. But the obvious answer is the correct answer. That's their thing, isn't it? It's you. I do love how words were pronounced back in the day, more accurately in some ways. It's you, two S's, so you have to have the extra bit. I like how some people say they often pronounce the H in what and when. You don't really hear that so much now.
No.
What?
No, only from Stewie in Family Guy when he says "Cool Whip."
Cool Whip. What'd you say?
Cool Whip.
Say, say what? What? Say whip, whip. But yeah, I've heard some people say what? You're like, it's odd, but that's probably how it would have been pronounced, presumably. I guess. Ooh. Yes, there will be another death. I just read it. Good job he's good looking, because he's not very smart, is he? Well, interesting phone. Taking the trim phone to the next level. Are trim phones a thing yet?
They're more 70s, aren't they, I think?
Well, I don't know.
Oh, no.
Oh. It sounds like she's in the same room as me. Ah, the Keys of Marinus next. Marinus,
Yes, indeed.
somebody nearly said earlier.
But that's my when I was younger and I had the book. My immediate mispronunciation was
Oh
Marinus.
man, we could have a whole conversation about that. Of
The
words
Master
that,
Mandragora.
yes, Mandragora, Logopolis,
Yeah.
Frontois. I wasn't too sure for what. That's supposed to be French. Is that Frontois? I mean, what? Oh god, so many of them. I can't think of any of us now. Did I tell you the story? I can't remember if I told you this one. Remember the Daleks? I may have mentioned this to you. I certainly told somebody.
Right.
Back
Ooh.
when, in '88, we recorded it on tape, because this was before it got released onto VHS. And the tape I used must have been stretched a wee bit, because VHS is all tape. And certain parts of the episode 1 in particular, the dialogue would speed up a little bit because obviously the tape was stretched.
Awesome.
Which created some interesting words that, two of my favourites. One, the bit when Alison goes over to Mike to tell him that so and so's dead. Right.
Yeah.
The dialogue is, "Dead? Are you sure?" She says to Mike when Mike just told her that so and so's dead. But because of the way it's sped up at that particular moment, it sounds like she goes, "Daddy, are you sure?" And I remember every time I watched it, I'm thinking, "What? I'm sure that's
That's
not what I meant."
wrong.
When the VHS come out, I'm like, "Oh,
All
yes, that
sorts
makes
of
more
wrong.
sense." And the other bit, which took a while for me to remember what it said, when they're talking about the death ray and stuff, and of course, Gilmore's like, "It's unbelievable," and the doctor actually says, "What a predictable response."
What a predictable response, yeah.
Because of the way it sped up a bit, just at that particular fucking moment, it sounded like he goes, "Not as predictable as Spots." So many times, even today, when I listen to watch these episodes, it's just like yeah.
Yes. Well, I
Man.
mean, you can't argue with the doctor's statement either way,
Yeah,
really. But
Spots are not
one of them
predictable.
is slightly more to the point. So,
Anyway. So
right.
that was
Can I go and
oh
plunge my coffee
yes.
before we move on to the Keys of Marinus?
Yes, and then we shall talk about sentence of death. As to that, I'll continue now because I've got another little one, not a mispronounced word, but a VHS story.
Right. Okay.
While you're plunging your coffee.
It's already plunged.
Okay, well I'll tell you anyway because it's quite funny. I think it might amuse you. Another thing I used to do in the late 80s, I'd have the tape, play the episode, pause it, so just as the episode starts on TV, watch the titles, blah blah blah. So I press record just where it should pick up from. So basically try and edit into one whole.
Oh, right. You strange creature.
Usually worked. Occasionally it did not work. Like my favorite one, and even today again, every time I watch this episode, I still can see it. At the end of Battlefield episode 3, I think it was, when Morgaine summoned the destroyer.
Yes.
And she's like, "You shall be given to the destroyer and become his handmaidens in hell."
In hell, yeah.
On my version, because I just mistimed the button pressing, I guess, what I actually did say for years until we finally got on VHS was she'd go, "I shall give you to the destroyer and become his handmaiden in hell."
Nice.
And you can just see
Very
her.
foghorn leghorn.
I mean, the camera's on her, so she's like, "And become." It's like, all right, Tremor, over dramatic there a little bit.
Brilliant. No, when I recorded it, I had to have the titles in between.
I mean, the downside of that was there was occasional episodes. Not very often it happened, but in the 80s, like at the end of it would have been episode 2 of Remembrance, where they have that little sting for the cliffhanger, which isn't repeated in episode 4 or episode 3, whatever, where shuttle lands, and as a last little sting, the doctor looks up and goes, "I think I might have miscalculated."
Yes, and that's
Which
not
that line isn't in episode 3.
It's not reprised, is it?
Yeah,
In episode
so
4, yeah.
I'd totally forgotten about that for years until I watched the VHS. I was like, "Oh yeah, there's something to say about Omnibus," because I remember when they finally released the uncut episodes. Because at first it was all Omnibus ones, so I got used to it, I suppose. And then they started doing the uncut. I'm like, I don't know if I want to buy Spear from Space again. God, I mean, I've got it. But of course, nowadays, I am one of those people who's like, "Oh no, why watch it if it's cut? What's the point?"
Yeah.
I mean, like
Yeah,
Blu-ray.
nowadays we've all bought it about 6 times now. So
Seriously, there are some stories that I've literally had on VHS, like for instance, say Genesis. I've now had it on audio tape,
mhm.
the book, obviously, audio CD,
Yep.
not the book, the odd one where he steps out of TARDIS and complains about the time ring. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, on DVD, on VHS,
Yep.
double tape. Then on DVD,
Yep.
only once, I think. And now on Blu-ray. What the fuck's
Yes.
next?
Yeah, I got it twice on DVD because I bought it and then I bought the Davros box set, and then I sold my original Genesis of the Daleks on. So audio cassette.
I
didn't have
Resurrection.
I didn't have the record, but I had the cassette. Actually, I had the cassette twice because I got the cassette on its own, and then I got it when it was re-released with Slipback.
Yes.
And so I got it with Slipback, and then I got the CD, and then
Hang on, no.
the VHS rather, then the CD, then the DVD, then the Davros collection, and then season 12
because the
Blu-ray.
CD of it is with
7 times.
Exploration Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, I bought
That's
that
one, isn't it?
and the novelisation. Bought a version of it 8 times.
The novelisation, yeah. Let's not forget that. And the Pescatons is one of those too. We've had it on tape, CD, and of course the novelisation. I like the Pescatons. I feel like we might have to just do a little review of that when we get to it, just for larks. But anyway, let's talk.
Sentence of Death.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll look up there then, but don't need to keep remember what it is.
That was a great episode.
It's like what they say about Star Trek. Courtroom episodes of any genre show usually are really good. Generally.
Yeah.
Because they're not the norm, I think. It's kind of quite fun. Maybe it's just because as people we instinctively like the adversarial thing of it. Our courts. I don't know. But yeah, I agree. This was really
very
good.
well made, very well written, very very tightly plotted. And as I said towards the end of the episode, when the key is revealed, and the automatic. Once the guy stands up and then he gets shot, and obviously there's a mystery around that as well. But certainly when he appears to be guilty, I can see that the television audience are going to be thinking, "Oh, well, that's sorted then."
Yeah, next story.
But the fact that it isn't, and that there are more layers to kind of obstruction and drama for the Doctor and the team to get through before we get to the eventual happy outcome. It's just it's
what
great.
it does as well is it breaks the pattern of this story anyway, where the pattern's been episode sort of contained story, a little bit of a setup for the next episode as being the consistent pattern for the last 5 episodes, actually. But this one, because at that point, if wow, we solved the blah blah blah, people are probably thinking, oh, we're nearly at the end of the episode, so we're going to be moving on to the next wherever it is, I suppose. But no, we're actually going straight in, same location, and we haven't finished this part of the story yet. So yeah,
we have a
quite clever,
kind of like a two-parter at the end.
Yeah.
At the end of it, which is
which is the best way to do 6-parters according to Hinchcliffe.
Yes,
because that's his thing. Is he's very much the case of the best way, because it's a lot to do 6-parters. Is he's very much a case of we'll either do 2 episodes at the beginning and then change location completely for the last 4, so it feels, although still the same, it's not.
Which is the Seeds of Doom. Basically.
Seeds of Doom does that, of course, and the reverse also with Talons. It's all about the Palace Theatre, blah blah blah. The last 2 are basically at Lee Sang Chan's with Wang Chang, what's his face, Grill, the laundry, what's it place.
I see. Yeah, the House of the Dragon.
Yes, you just basically change location so it feels fresh again. It's a clever idea. Because
it is. I mean, especially the invasion of time is the kind of the almost like the most obvious sort of example of that. 4-parter with a 2-parter bolted on.
Varden, then 2 parts on Talon's story. Yeah, and the Dalek.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sold on that concept myself, but well, it's good to bear that in mind actually as we go through, because this is effectively our first 6-parter, isn't it? Keys of Marinus.
Sure. And they're using that Hinchcliffe format without it being a thing yet. So, and I think it's So interesting to see if they can. Isn't the next one 4, right? Aztecs is
the Aztecs is a 4-parter.
Okay. I was going to double check on that because I was just like, do I need to listen to the Aztecs within 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
Yes, we've got 2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay.
So,
cool.
2 weeks.
Plenty of time. Now I'm back to work, so plenty of time. Anyway, so yes, we enjoyed that episode. I think that's the... We did. We actually enjoyed the story quite a lot, to be fair. It's one of those stories that tends to get generally a bad rap from certain fans of a certain age, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think, again, like most Doctor Who, it benefits not watching it all in one go.
It does, and I wonder also if a lot of the bad rep comes from it stems from the same sort of bad rep that the Wed Planet gets, and where viewers, fans, or whatever critics look at it and go, that's just it's too adventurous, too ambitious. For what could realistically be achieved, and we've had some evidence of that at times, but I think to basically cast a whole serial aside based purely on that, I think is very narrow-minded, and this isn't a story that I would it's not one of my go-to Hartnell serials at all, but it's a story that this time, at least in particular, I've really enjoyed every single episode. And
well, I'm like you in that. When I knew this was coming up, I'm like when I last did my Doctor Who marathon, I got to this one. I know it's coming up after Age of Destruction. I'm like, fuck's sake, Termination again, bloody hell! But almost every time I watch it, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of enjoy it. I think it helps because same as last time. This time, I'm not watching it as one sitting. I think that almost, without exception, benefits Doctor Who every time. I think
none of these stories should be binged like that. I still haven't watched most of the season 2 Blu-ray collection.
I haven't watched any of the episodes on the Blu-rays, just all the special features.
When it was released, like 18 months ago, something like that, probably.
Yeah, that's
a year ago or so. And yeah, because I can't. I like to dip into these series. I can't just sit down and watch a whole series like back to back. And I struggle with a lot of these black and white stories, sitting down and watching them episodes back to back, because they don't. It doesn't. It does a disservice to the story because they weren't made to be watched that way. And so, yeah, you're not watching them in their best light, their best environment. You're not watching them how they were intended to be watched. So
agreed. Cool.
Yeah.
Shall we crack on with actually the Keys of Marinus?
The Keys of Marinus.
Right. So
Yes.
blue players? No, iPlayers. Blue players. What the fuck?
Blue players. So yeah, you're going to go on 3, and I'm going to try on 6 this time.
Yeah. So okay. So
just to see. All right. So right.
Go ahead.
Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's all right. That one.
That'll do nicely. All right. So viewers, next time be on 6, right? Wait till we get to episodes which don't exist on iPlayer. Because there's a few.
Yes.
Not many, but a few. Especially when you go to spin-off territory. Although you did say there's a few you don't have, isn't there, the BBC spin-offs?
I've got that Zygon porn one, and I've got the K9 series.
It's really not as bad as people make it out to be at all.
No, I've watched it. I watched it and thought,
Well, you have
I never need to watch this again. I will get rid of.
It's odd, yeah. The opening sequence, you're like, what the fuck are you doing? Why? What's the point of this? It's just like the whole lingering close-up of this guy's genitals in this very weird, distorted image. You're like, we know what it is. What are you doing?
Meanwhile, back with the Keys of Marinus.
Oh, yes. Before Doctor Who got perverted.
The one of the things I think that helps this story, and it could be considered quite a shallow way of looking at it, but is the picture and sound quality is excellent, and it does. I do find that increases my enjoyment of something if the picture and particularly the sound quality is really good. And so I know we are spoiled as Doctor Who fans with the kind of restoration that's been applied to these episodes.
You say that, but I think sometimes, Doctor Who's probably would be true too. Although, obviously, almost any fan now would not have watched 60s Who anything less than vid-fired now, because it's only really exists that way. Even the VHS mostly were vid-fired. But I quite like watching older TV or films a little grainier sometimes. It adds to the charm. Like, say, I watched some of this Tales Unexpected stuff. Obviously, that's not been remastered. And sometimes you can, watching so occasionally, like I'm watching it last night, an episode from 81, I think I'm on. And obviously, it's just come from the tapes. So every now and then, it's like the little line appears, that little interference bit. And I'm watching it, and I say, what's going on? I can't have that bad a signal. Come on. And then I was like, oh, yeah, of course. As if you'd get that on your TV ever now. Come on.
What I've been doing a lot, certainly this year, is I've been watching a lot of old classic serials. So a lot of like Dickens, Bronte, Jane Austen and stuff.
And I just say Fiona What's-Her-Face here. Is it Fiona?
Yes, Fiona Walker.
She's not very good.
No, I think she's... I think she's all right. I think she's doing... Considering she's being duplicitous...
Well, I mean, she's obviously she's obviously not being honest or whatever, but I don't know, her performance, I don't know. She's clearly a theatre actor, not a TV actor.
She is. She's just giving it all away there as well.
Yeah, she's just all... Anyway. What was you saying?
Well, that's... Most of the actors in Doctor Who at this period, in an emotional scene, will have be like that because they don't have the time or anything to undergo the emotional build up and stuff.
Agreed, and also like we have discussed before, that's the joy of having a show that's run for so long, is that you get to see how performances start to become adapted for TV. Because obviously, back even in this era, most actors who would mostly have been theatre actors doing TV, and they haven't quite grasped the idea of how much the camera picks up, so you don't need to project like you would on the theatre.
Yeah,
you were saying about classic serials.
Yeah, a lot. I've been watching a number of them from the '60s or late '50s through to the late '60s. Dickens, and none of those are restored. And it kind of hammers home just how much work and how effective the restoration is on the Doctor Who's. When you watch, a 1962 Oliver Twist, for example, and it's enjoyable, but it's I watch it and I just I kind of long just to see a slightly sharper, cleaned up picture. The sound quality, having a bit of Marquez miracle work on it, and just yeah. So I see what you mean. And I know there are some fans out there that would like to watch the old Doctor Who in that in that format, and I think that's why on some of the Pertwee seasons, you've got
like
seasons 8 and 9. You've got the episodes that they've colorized the black and white film prints.
And
they've also included the previous reverse standards conversion restoration on as well for people who think it's not a true representation of what it was.
Also, I've not watched them, but like they've got a few with the omnibus repeats. I assume they've not been vid fired. I've not watched them, so I don't know. Just not watched them yet.
I think the Demons omnibus was recreated, I think, from an off-air audio copy.
Right.
I think the Sea Devils one was already in existence, and Day of the Daleks. I know the Ark in Space and Genesis of the Daleks on season 12. They're still in existence as well. So yeah, but the Demons obviously went through its full restoration for the episodes, and then
for them to release on the Blu-rays the original VHS copies. Don't touch them up. Just release them. Like Revenge of the Cybermen, the original 80 whatever version they released. Bring all of it in its 60-minute version. Stuff like that. But don't touch them up. Just release them as they would have been seen on VHS. Because God, as you say, there's fans out there who probably would love to see that kind of stuff. See it the way it was, as it were.
Yeah.
I mean, if I still had it, guys, I would send you my VHS remembrance so you could put that on DVD, on Blu-ray, with Daddy, are you sure? Because that would be fantastic.
The
And become
Dalek Invasion of Earth on VHS was the only Doctor Who. I bought it with some birthday money when I was 17, something like that, and I took it. I took it and watched it, and I don't think I even watched it all. I couldn't. The picture quality was so bad, and the sound quality in particular was so poor. I thought I can't sit through all this, so I took it back and exchanged it for the first two volumes of Blake 7. I do remember, but all the others, I managed to kind of accept them for their limitations. But the Dalek Invasion of Earth was just too poor.
About this actual episode.
Yes, go on.
Occasionally we'll talk about the one we're watching. The whole thing about how they found out Susan was at Carla's, or Cara's, whatever her name is. Do we think? I mean, nowadays it's even they still use that kind of nonsense of, they mentioned the name. I haven't mentioned it to before. Cliche. They still do it.
Yes.
Do we think that back when this episode was first shown, it was clever, or was it already a bit tried? Because I watch
Yeah.
it and I'm like, I can't help but think that's awful writing, frankly. But then I'm like, is it only because, you know what I mean, we're so used to it?
Yeah.
You know, it's a 64. I don't know. I just,
Interesting.
anybody
I
at
do.
home, if you know these things, let me know if you're more of
No,
a
no, yeah,
expert on it.
I know because it kind of feeds back into what I said when we watched episodes 1 to 3 of this
Hmm.
about Terry Nation kind of using familiar sort of sci-fi or adventure kind of tropes
Yeah, but were they trope?
in
And yeah.
different episodes. You know, the different setups for all these episodes, but also at the same time wondering actually were they back then, or are they only now because of stories like this? So yeah, that's
Hmm.
that's
I want
fine.
to say, viewers, if there's anybody there who's actually a historian on these things, because, you know, Doctor Who fans, there are a lot of people like that, and you know, let us know. Give us an example. I know we have
There's
got viewers, they just
it
don't talk.
probably started with in novels in mystery and thriller
Yeah,
fiction,
that makes sense.
but they're going to get their man.
Dun, dun, dun.
He's still loving it. It's great. It's a Scooby Doo moment.
Yeah, it was the
It was him
belligerent
all
from the
along.
beginning. It was Mr. Belligerent from the beginning, so clearly. Maybe, I'm
It was
assuming
different.
people knew he was going to be revealed, 'cause presumably they've already had both scripts. So maybe his performance could have been a bit little more subtle, because I think from the off you're like, oh yeah, he's dodgy. There's no other way. I mean, it would be more interesting if it turned out to be this chap here, because that's
Yeah, I mean,
oh
it's it's um it's always my first um my first criticism of Trial of a Time Lord, that the Valiard comes in so obviously
the bad guy.
the villain of the piece straight away. It's it's a shame because if he'd started off being something different, being fussy and
Or
bumbling or whatever, or just and had sort of degenerated over the course of the story, but the
or
fact
in the,
that
or
he's
the reverse, where he is this sinister character throughout. Then at the end, when the master is revealed, it turns out the master is behind it, legit, and the Valiant is literally just a court prosecutor who's just a dupe that a master's played. That would have been
yeah
interesting as well, because it's like,
yeah
oh, he's actually, you know, as much of a victim as the rest. But yeah, I mean, that said, you know, the reveal of who he was is still quite a.
mm.
I imagine at the time it was quite a shock. Obviously, by the time I got to watch it, it's like on VHS, so I knew already. But at the time,
Yes, I do remember it being having an impact, but
oh, we missed the whole line about skepticism, didn't we? And the
yes, we did.
doctor read him. I met him, which seems unlikely. So I suppose that's one of the doctor's first name drops as well, isn't it?
Yes,
One,
yes, I noticed
Philip
that in
Marco
the
Polo, possibly. I forget, but certainly because it
I
becomes a very
think
doctor
I
thing.
think
But
yeah
it's interesting because obviously at this point the doctor's not. You know, we don't know he's been throughout Earth history. That's the whole point. He hadn't. He just left Gallifrey, went to Quinnus, and came here.
yes
But now suddenly he's wide travelled. It's like, yeah, I think he's lying. It's just a joke.
yes because Susan should know that as well.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to discussing the Voord again shortly in terms of the book. But we'll save that.
And it must have been hot wearing those rubber headsets and gimp suits and stuff.
Are they in Lime Grove yet? I forget. They got to Lime Grove, or they still this is pre-Lime Grove?
No, they're at Lime. They start off at Lime Grove. They're at Lime Grove at this point.
Okay.
Then they move to Riverside.
Quite a long time.
Then they move back to Lime Grove again.
Because towards the end of Troughton's time, they're back there, aren't they?
Sorry?
I said they're back there by the end of Troughton's time, I think.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
There's Creek.
Yes. Back to Lime Grove for season 6, I think, or possibly seasons 5 and 6. But none of the until they get to TV Centre, none of the studios they were in were really suitable for what they had to do.
God no. Creatures. Okay, that's interesting because I noticed that in the novelisation they kept being called creatures all the time.
Yes, who knows what they are beneath those.
Well, that's interesting because at least we know from that line certainly that Hinchcliffe didn't just pluck that out of nowhere. So that's okay.
Oh, fabulous comedy.
James. Having a few weeks off really does help Hartnell, doesn't it?
It does, but they are the characters as well as the actors are clearly having fun.
Yeah.
In these hair-raising adventures as well now, which is
nice.
Such a difference to how things were, 13, 14 weeks ago. So yes, they've got the 4 keys.
4 keys?
No, they've got 3 keys.
3 keys.
No. No, they've got 4 because there's 5 of them, isn't there? They've got 4, and Ian's got the other one.
Up.
But Ian's also got the fake one that the old Catweasel bloke made at the in the greenhouse.
Yes.
Or the potting shed.
Oh yes, of course. The non-first Doctor.
Yeah, Edmund.
Edmund what? Warwick.
Edmund, what's his name? Warwick. That's it. I was thinking of Edmund Wells, but that's from a.
For some reason, in my head, I had Edmund Trezovic, but that's of course Nightshade.
That's right. Yes.
One book that still, to me, holds up fairly well. We'll cover those very briefly, I think, when we get to that era. The wilderness. Yeah, maybe we'll do, when we finally get there, we'll do a little wilderness years discussion.
Yes. See if we can cover 64 new adventures in 64 minutes.
Yeah, one of a minute. Right. And after that was. And that doesn't include the Missing Adventures, BBC books, all the short story collections.
Oh, he's not happy, is he?
No. What he needs is a good man. Good disguise. I'll never know it's a head shape.
Well, it must be Arbitan. I mean, who else can it be?
Yeah, with that head. I mean, he obviously has got a bump. Old man. To be fair, that is consistent with Arbitan. That's what he cared about with anyway.
Curmudgeonly old bugger, wasn't he?
Yeah, he only cared about the keys.
Wouldn't do long shots.
First met him, so. Are you suddenly?
Yes. I'm suffering from black hand.
Black hand syndrome, you know. It's like you trap your hand in the door. And apparently you have no face anymore.
No, there are many races of male Marinus.
Of course. Just give him a bloody clue. Fucking hell.
Throw it down.
Good Lord, man.
None of this is in any way suspicious.
No. I mean, because these keys are so delicate and so advanced, why throw it down?
Right, cheerio then. We'll leave you to...
Ian,
Ian.
did you notice how long his head was? No, Susan. I thought that was perfectly normal.
What? Oh no, it was Yartek.
Oh,
the
the
Voord
time.
all along.
Oh my God, I was convinced. Here's one thing we're missing from the book here: the hordes of the Voord.
The Horde of Voord.
Yeah, because in the book, of course, at this point, there's hordes of them on this island. Hordes of them, apparently. But not a TV budget. This last episode's not the best bit of writing, is it?
Silly buggers putting all their faith into one machine.
He's so smug.
Ah, he is.
Achy.
This is my moment. This is my moment to be smug.
All right, for sake. It has been a few weeks, you know, days, whatever. Days, I guess. Has it been days? Have they slept?
Oh no! The Horde of the Voord.
The Voord horde. The
Voord Horde. Oh, you've been sat around all this time without putting the key in the machine?
Like, excuse
You can't be
me,
that desperate.
was it first? Needed my moment. Oh! There's Susan.
That's lucky. They found it.
Ow, they got away really easy, didn't they? Long evidence
Good job as well.
of it.
No, indeed.
You should remember that, Doctor, because this will come back and bite you in the ass several times. God bless you.
Millennius. Yeah, I was right.
Not millennium.
Not millennium.
Millennium. Goodbye, Altos. No, I would have kept it. I would have kept it. Souvenir, mate.
He just popped it in the pocket of his Chinese robe, and then he'd be just a walking collection of souvenirs.
That would be cool. I quite like that as a companion trait. That would be quite funny. Somebody just picks stuff up randomly.
Yes.
Constantly. I love that.
Interesting, acquisitive.
Yeah. Inquisitive Chesterton. And no,
unlike the last time, I think that is the first scene of the Aztecs as well, suggesting that this flows straight into the Aztecs.
oh right,
Symbol of evil.
there's no
Yeah.
because no
So
cliffhanger, is there?
whereas between Marco Polo, there's no cliffhanger, but at least there is the suggestion
The
that one
continuity of
flows
clothing and whatnot.
into the other. So,
Yeah. Well,
so there we go.
so there we go. That was the end of the
Yes,
Keys of Marinus.
indeed.
I will say, for me, the resolution's a bit weak. I mean, the resolution of the millennium storyline's cool, but the
Yeah.
resolution of the actual arc, I think, is a little bit weak. It's a bit easy, and it's definitely not Terry Nation's strongest part of the script. I think.
Well, no, but then I think that was a problem or with the Daleks as well.
Yeah.
Um, um, so I think the realization of that kind of ultimate the ultimate sort of final moment of destruction and stuff. I think it's beyond what the what the show can achieve at that time. I think they did a better job of it here, or certainly it was what happened was clearer at the end of this one than it was at the end of the Daleks. I think the end of the Daleks just kind of fizzled out.
Yeah.
But God, I'm getting all bunged up again. This is ridiculous.
I know.
I'm going to stick my nose in a tub of Vicks vapor rub in a bit, but yeah, so I can see what you mean. It's what it probably lacked was a model shot of the pyramid, sort of like imploding or exploding or
that would have helped. That would help.
Imploding one way or another, IM or X. And just that again, I think that would have just added that extra dimension, because you kind of go from the sort of flash explosion in the chamber. You've got the last minute escape through the wall of our heroes, and then suddenly you're back to just a very, very narrow shot in front of the TARDIS, and that's it. You lose the idea of the scale of it.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think so. Yeah, but generally, I think a good story.
That was great. It was good fun. A great kind of great fun action adventure. The sort of thing that's going to keep the kids entertained, keep the family watching week after week. I think just kind of carried along with the ride. I think that was really good.
Yeah. Shall we talk just a little bit about the book then?
Let's.
Okay. First thing that stands out, because the whole reason why I think we actually decided to start doing this is because of our question of the Voord, of where did this idea come from. I mean, we know in a comic they apparently evolve into Cybermen, but where did this idea come from? That's what they look like. Because that's why we thought, let's go through the book, because is that where it's first implied, because they cut out the scene of this? But no, the book is very much clear on what they look like.
Yeah.
Because in the book, they haven't got these helmets on at all. Their heads are revealed throughout the entire book, and they're like these reptilian, humanoid, but reptilian creatures.
Yeah.
And the Horde, or the Voord, are suggested to be augmented somehow. So, which I guess that could suggest sort of Cybermen somehow.
Could be. I mean, I kind of took that to be like the suits that they wore, kind of gave them that augmentation.
But it's interesting that where did the idea come from that the suits were the Voord?
With the Voord, yeah.
World Shapers, that's what that is. That's what they look like. So it's like, so where did this idea come from? Where is this misconception? Because I'd have to check dates, but I think that the novel came out before the comic. I'm not sure.
I would have.
I'll check that. You discuss
I would
your
have thought so.
thoughts.
I've got it relatively here. I've got it relatively easy to hand.
Oh, good for you.
So yeah. Um, the I'm wondering if the Voord as a race. 1980 was the novelisation.
Okay. And
So yes, a long time before the comic.
Yeah, this particular comic came out in.
The comic was sort of like 86, I think.
Well, yeah, because it's Colin Baker, isn't it? So
It's Colin Baker, yes.
87, actually.
It was 87, was it?
Yeah,
Okay.
9th of July to 10th of September, 87. So
Oh, wow.
just before Sylvester took over. So is that
Yeah.
gap? So that's 7 years, man. That's
yeah. No, I'm wondering if there's early publicity photos of Caroline Ford being menaced by a Voord, and I wonder if that's where the concept comes from, that's the monster suit. So it's an actor wearing that, and the thing on the outside is the monster.
It's interesting though, because again, if the book's already released, then it's quite clear in the book certainly. But then I suppose it's conceivable that fans of a certain age at that point who had not seen Keys, and it certainly wasn't available on anywhere you could watch it at that point. I assume if they've read the book, they or the writer of that particular story, whoever made the misconception, maybe must have assumed Hinchcliffe made this bit up. Maybe.
It's
interesting. It'd be interesting to find out where and how that actually all came about. I guess we don't know for sure, but interesting. But yeah, it's a curious thing. Other than that, what else? The book's a fairly nice, straightforward retelling of the story.
It is. I really enjoyed the book.
Yeah,
just for the same reasons that I enjoyed the TV episodes. Actually, it was just
two chapters
straightforward
per episode.
Yeah, straightforward
around
storytelling. I think I do remember noting that there was some kind of augmentations early on, or clarifications early on. Just where Philip Hinchcliffe was just getting things straight in his own head about who, what, and where at the beginning, and how. I did notice there were a couple of occasions where Susan referred to her grandfather as the Doctor. When she's talking to other people, the Doctor will be along shortly.
Which is definitely
whereas again, realistically, she should say, my grandfather will be along shortly. Those sort of stuck out a little bit. I thought that was a little odd. And then also changing the name of the city from Millennius to Millennium. And as soon as I saw that, I thought, that's not what I recall.
No,
but also
it turns out
I kind of justified it to myself almost immediately, and this is probably the old writer gene kicking in, thinking if you've got the planet or the land or whatever, the planet probably mainly of Marinus, if you've got a city called Millennius, they are they're similar, unless it had made a point of giving all of them giving all of the lands an us name. So I think Hinchcliffe is likely to have changed that just to add a little clarity or to avoid potential confusion.
I think one thing he didn't get clear in his mind, and I think I don't know, maybe it's not that clear on TV. I mean, we talked about it briefly, but in the book, it seems a little unclear of whether Marinus is the planet, if it's the island, especially at the beginning of it. Because I know there's a line of dialogue later that calls it a planet.
Yeah.
I think that was in the script as well as in the book. But at the beginning, when he's talking about the opening, the Voord invasion of Marinus had begun, very apocalyptic and all this, which absolutely infers that the Voord are invading a planet. But then
Yeah.
later in the story, I think on TV as well, we might have talked about that bit. I'm sure it says the Voord are still from the same planet, but
Yeah,
tree.
I'm sure they
Yeah.
are. So
So I don't know. The way it's just not terribly clear in the book. I don't think.
no.
I don't think Hinchcliffe had quite got that clear in his head which was which I think would be a failure of the script then if he couldn't get it from the script because he must have seen the script to adapt it.
Yeah. I mean, I've always looked on it as Marinus is the planet,
yeah,
but
certainly seems to be.
it actually doesn't make sense if it unless the island or the nation that the Voord have invaded that where Arbitan lives is that has to be Marinus in itself as well. So
Well, I suppose if it's the capital of the planet or whatever, or that country,
yeah,
then naming it after the
could be.
planet or vice versa, I suppose it's not unheard of in
I
science
mean,
fiction anyway.
the fact that they're called that they are that in the book the inhabitants at some point are referred to as Marinians.
Yeah,
I can't remember whether that's specifically Sabitha and Altos or if it's
yeah, because
others.
that's
But
towards the end. It's mentioned. Yeah, I remember.
yeah,
Like, oh,
but
okay. But that's meant not
I
in dialogue though. That was actually just mentioned in the prose itself.
it was yeah.
So
So I think there isn't the moment when I don't think there's any real clarity on what the planet is called, but I think certainly that land that they start in was Marinus,
for sure.
and it makes sense for because they are the keys of
Marinus.
Marinus. But
At least it's not
yeah,
a person. We know that for sure.
no,
But no, I think I like the book. I thought straightforward, fairly straightforward retelling. It doesn't answer the question that I had, but it's fine. It's fine, But at least it does not. It certainly doesn't solve the question, but it certainly gives a bit of information to posit an idea of how this all came about. Because obviously it came about somewhere in between 1980 and 87. Hello, and here's
ah,
Erin. Hello, you come to say hello, have you? Okay. What are you doing then? You just going to shove your ass in everybody's face? No? You're going that way now. Okay. It's been a while since we've had a cat invasion, isn't it?
cat, yeah,
Yes,
cats will cat.
They, yes, they will, especially when they're this one. But yeah, cool. So I think that's pretty much talked out on this particularly
I
fun
think
adventure.
yes, I think it is.
Okay, well, wrap up's all yours, mate.
So yes, so next time on the Replimat Who Watch, we have all 4 episodes of the Aztecs
That's a
to look
discussion
forward
possibly
to.
on the differences with the book, which I
Indeed,
suspect there will be some because of Lee Cravotti. I imagine he's made use of the format, just like he did with Marco Polo.
we shall see.
That would be interesting.
But before that, we have next week. We will have another episode of DS9.
We shall.
And since last week, when you told me what it was, I can't remember what it was.
I believe, if memory serves correctly, I feel sure it's crossover.
Okay.
Yeah. What episode are we on? We're like 4 episodes left or something?
It's season 2, episode 22?
So that's about right then. So
Or
yeah.
21.
So,
22, I think.
yeah, I think that sounds about right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's crossover next. I feel
Crossover.
sure. I'm not very sure. Hang on, let me double check. Pretty sure. I feel sure it is. Hang on. And if
Whatever it is, it'll be fun finding out, I'm sure.
okay, episode 23. That does sound right, doesn't it? Okay, let me just click onto Wiki. And oh no. I tell a
Because I
lie.
think the last one we watched was
Now you
episode
were saying when I
21.
tell you correct. So next week, and now as soon as I tell you, you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember now, is The Wire.
The Wire. Yes, of
Because we
course.
mentioned, like, what could that be about? What the fuck?
Yeah, what on earth could that be about? We shall find out next weekend. But yes, so
We shall.
until then, I've been Tim. He's been.
I have
Who have you been?
Andy.
He's been Altos.
I've been Andy. I've been
Yeah,
Al.
with
Oh yeah, Andy for
fine pair
Altos.
of pins.
Andy for Altos. Andy for Altos. Obviously, I need a time machine, but Andy for Altos. All the way to
So,
Canada.
yeah, thank you for joining us once again on Patreon and eventually on YouTube and on Spotify. If you can't stand the sight of us but like the sound of us, thank you very much. If you'd like to engage with us, then please do. And as usual, all the social media links and so forth will be added beneath the video. Down there, that's right. And there we are, and we'll see you next time for some Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Anything else you'd like to add before we go?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it, is it? Excellent. Well, in that case, in time-honoured fashion, bye-bye, Duggan.
Bye-bye.